So I'm scrolling through Instagram and my eye stops on this beautiful tape moving and this ethereal kind of eerie synthy music on top of it. And I'm like, what is this? And so I start down this rabbit hole to figure out what is this weird tape thing. And I find out it's an RE-501, a Roland RE-501. And I look them up and I'm like, wow, I have to have this. This is amazing. And I see that they're going for $2,000. And I'm like, ew, is it worth it? Hey, you're watching Alamo Sound Lab. I'm Zach Marr here in Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications and leave a comment below. Today we're looking at the Roland tape echoes, and specifically the Roland RE-501 and the SRE-555, two of the last tape echo machines that Roland kind of produced. And we're looking at it from the angle of, is it relevant today? Is it worth it today? Is it something that you need in your toolbox? And are there alternatives, modern alternatives that are better suited? And so in order to answer that, we need to go into the history of tape delay a little bit. And tape delay really began in the 40s with manipulation of recording equipment to kind of create that delay effect. Really, it was popularized by Elvis in Sun Studios, where they made extensive use of the kind of delay. And from the 40s until the 70s, there was a number of different kind of contraptions and machines that were built to create the delay effect, but none of them really became the kind of industry standard. It was kind of still being prototyped and figured out. And it wasn't really until the 70s when Roland created the RE-201 Space Echo and Maestro created the Echoplex that kind of industry standards emerged, and both of those units remained in production from the 70s all the way into the 90s, which is a really, really long run for an effects box. I can't imagine a digital effect being produced that long in today's kind of market. So what was so magical about them? Why were they in production so long, and are they still relevant today? That's kind of what we're looking at. And so specifically, these were I think two of the last ones that Roland kind of invented, and really kind of their pinnacle tape delay chorus echo. And what was different about these is that not only did it have the echo effect, it had a chorus effect, it had a sound on sound effect, and it had a reverb. So it had a whole bunch of different effects in it, whereas the RE-201 was more of just an echo and I think a reverb. It didn't have the sound on sound, and I do not remember if it had the chorus, but it was a simpler version than this. The RE-301 was closer to this, but I don't think it had a balanced input. So this was really their top of their line. It also featured kind of technology that made it less noisy. The RE-201 and the 301 are kind of both actually revered for us, but they're a little noisier than the RE-501 and the SRE-555. But what's really interesting about these ones specifically, if you compare it, say, to the Echoplex, they have a visual component to them that is really unique. And so we're going to take the top off this later, and you can kind of see it. But when it's in effect, the tape isn't kind of like a cassette tape where it's tightly wound around two kind of poles. Instead, it's this massive kind of unreal tape that almost looks like a serpent that doesn't have a path really. Doesn't have a path that is what's it called? Consistent. So it's got a random element to it, and it's completely mesmerizing to watch. And both of these units were made to be able to take off the top so you could watch it while you were using it. And why this has no musical effect, it is truly mesmerizing and almost hypnotic to look at it. And in today's world, where so much of music production is also melded with video production, with Instagram, with YouTube, it's really, I think there's a new relevance for some of these units as they are beautiful. There's a performative element to using them and watching them in motion as they create this awesome sounds that come out of them. So tonally, it is a warmer tone than you would get in just a straight digital pedal, effects delay pedal. And it is, you're using tape, and so you get audio kind of artifacts with that. There's a certain, like with VHS or with any old cassettes, there's a certain, the tape gets worn, the componentry gets worn, and you get all sorts of kind of artifacts and residue from the actual production of sound from these units, which is part of their magic and part of their kind of fun when you're playing with them. There's an unpredictability and kind of a real-time aliveness to them that you don't get with digital delays or kind of digital effects. So it's a very different sound. It's very fun to play with, and it's unique. You can't really get that true tape delay sound apart from, I think there's a few guitar manufacturers or pedal manufacturers that still make a tape delay, but they're not as robust as these kind of specific tape delays that Roland created. I think they're emulations of the Echoplex and not of the Space Echo or the Roland RE-501 SRE-555. So these are still incredibly relevant in my opinion, and fun to play with, and also just visually arresting. And so I personally think they do have value today. I do think the prices for them are a little crazy, but personally I think they're relevant, and I do think that they have a performative element that's of interest in today's music creation kind of environment, where the visual component is sometimes as important as the musical component. So let's take a listen, and we'll also show you how awesome it looks while we're playing. We might focus on that a little bit more than we do the actual playing. But let's take a listen, and we'll go from there. So I hope you see kind of the magic of these instruments, their hypnotic nature, the mesmerizing kind of visual component to it, and also the kind of warmth, almost record player feel that it adds to the sound. So it puts artifacts in it. It's noisy, and it um, kind of gives it a warmth, even an additional layer of warmth, in the same way that a record player kind of can transform a song and give it a different tonal quality. So really, in my opinion, these type of units are worth it, and I have a strange kind of take on it. I think that they are worth it because of their visual nature. From a musical standpoint, they are amazing and they do a lot, but I'll be honest, there are replicas, pedal replicas that are tape delays. But from a visual element, there are no replicas that replicate the kind of complexity of these units and the way that the tape flows. And I think that visual component, especially in today's world where the aesthetic visual component is so important in music making, I think it makes these unique and also an interesting toolkit to add to your music and kind of visual arsenal. And so I personally think they're worth it. They are pricey. You know, they go from anywhere from 15 to 2,500 bucks. But it's not maybe the best investment, but it is one that I think if you're compelled by it, it's not one that would disappoint. Word of caution, they do break. They do require maintenance. You do have to replace the tapes inside of them because they wear out like a VHS or cassette tape does. So those are, words of caution. Again, something to weigh when you're considering whether or not adding one of these to your collection. But again, I think they're worth it. Disagree with me? Please leave a comment below. Did I forget something? Comment below. Again, I'm Zach Marr here at Alamo Music. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. Again, I'd ask you subscribe if you didn't, and we're going to be doing more content like this, so stay tuned.